So Adam, I don't know if I ever told you this, but the first time I read the script, not the best way to first read a script, I'll admit, but I was anxious to read it and I was driving full days. So I used a program I think called Table Read,
Oh, nice.
which automated all the characters' voices and read it aloud while I was driving. So
I
my
didn't know that.
first interaction
That's
with this
amazing.
story was actually a bit of an AI romp.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm talking to Adam Stern, Cara and Peter Mooney about Levels, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on November 1st, 2024. I'm going to talk to them right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. All right, so thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Adam Stern, Cara and Peter Mooney talking about Levels, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on November 1st, 2024. It is an entertaining, well-done indie sci-fi film that has a really amazing opening, an interesting concept, a really great use of special effects, and some levels to what is going on. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I really love this film. So I'm very excited to talk to you all. And thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Yeah.
Of course. Of course. So first question is for Adam. You wrote this. Where did this idea come from? It feels like it was inspired by a couple other movies, but then you kind of like put your own twist on it. So what metaverse were you traversing when you came up with this idea?
Great question. So, yeah, I mean, there are, and I think I wrote about this a while ago. There are certainly some inevitable comparisons to any films, and there are big iconic films that sort of explore this. What is the nature of reality? And you can't not talk about The Matrix in that regard. That said, when I wrote this, one of the things that was most important to me was to me, this wasn't a story about. It wasn't about the style of it. It wasn't about the aesthetic of it. What was important to try and convey, and which helps us from the perspective of it being an indie film, is that this is our world. This is maybe a little bit in the future, but it's grounded. It is our reality. It is not a heightened or a maximalist reality of any kind. And so when I wrote this, what I was thinking a lot about was having to do with my frustrations with the world around us and the way people were treating each other at the time. And although, that might sound like, I suppose a bit naive, I've always been an optimist at heart. And I was thinking to myself when everybody back in 2019, 2020 was saying, well, maybe are we in the worst timeline? This was an exploration of, well, what if we are? And what if there's a reason for that? And what if it's intentional? And that kind of was the springboard for me to write this story using science fiction as the framing device for it because I have a very, very deep love of science fiction, and I've read about simulation theory and alternate realities and worlds, for ever since I was a kid. So yeah, I mean, all of that kind of came together, and that's where the story came from.
Well, and I love that you wrote it like, 5 years ago, 2019, way back in the day when people weren't treating each other nicely. And now it's all fixed. Now everything is fine.
Everything's
Everyone
fine.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's wonderful. That's great. Yeah. The world is,
Yeah,
the world is not on fire.
it's only gotten better from that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And then so this is also your feature debut, if I'm right. Like you have some shorts in the background, and also you have a ton of experience in various aspects of movies. But this is your feature debut. What made you want to like jump behind the camera? Was you always set to direct this movie? Was this always kind of like your baby, your brainchild from the start?
Sure. So yes, it was, and yeah, I had written and directed a couple of short films, and basically, have been in the business for many, many years in post production, primarily visual effects. Have always loved writing, have always loved storytelling, and have a deep love of science fiction storytelling. And so, yeah, back, I don't know, probably about a decade ago, I really had the bug. I wanted to see if I could test the waters and make my own projects. And I think that that's certainly that's not uncommon. I think anybody, if you're in the creative industries, regardless of what your current position is, I mean, everybody gets a label put on them at some point, but I think we all want to be storytellers. All want to tell stories in some way. So for me, yeah, this is my debut feature, and I pushed hard to figure out how to make it very independently with a couple of other great producers who helped figure out all that side of things, which was the newer aspect to me. But yeah, I love filmmaking. I love storytelling. I wanted to give a shot at being behind the camera for better or worse, and I'm just thrilled to have been able to make a feature. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love that you like took the risk, got behind the camera, and like let your vision come to life. Now, Cara and Peter, how did you get involved in this film? How did had you worked with Adam before? And I guess we'll start with Cara.
My husband actually did a short film with Peter in Vancouver, I think 857 years ago. And, uh,
Something
so
like
I,
that.
yeah, and he had nothing but the nicest things to say about his experience of working with Adam. And he's a Star Trek guy too, so uh, that was their connection. And yeah, no, my agent sent me the script and I read it, and there were parts that just really got my heart racing. The action sequences I thought were really, truly exciting. I loved the heart of it. And I thought it would be a super fun role to sink my teeth into. So I was on board right away, years ago now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Peter, what about you? How'd you get involved in this?
Yeah, the Karen and I had met each other around before this, but Adam and I hadn't met. And the project came to me while I was on a road trip across country, actually. So Adam, I don't know if I ever told you this, but the first time I read the script, not the best way to first read a script, I'll admit, but I was anxious to read it and I was driving full days. So I used a program I think called Table Read.
Nice.
Automated all the characters' voices and read it aloud while I was driving. So
I
my
didn't know
first
that.
interaction
That's
with this
amazing.
story was actually a bit of an AI romp. So even though that table read was terrible, they're really bad actors. That was my first. That was my first. And then once I arrived and stopped, I read it proper. But I first heard this script through sort of an AI voice, which is just sort of dawning on me now how kind of oddly appropriate it was.
Yeah, your first interaction with the script was essentially a simulation. That's amazing. I love
Yeah, yeah.
it.
I didn't take any of the line reads though. I just
Did you know who you were going to be, or did you just like did you at least use your voice for your character, or was it just some
no,
like random?
I didn't have the pro package, so I think I could only choose 3 or 4 voices. So
Well, that must have been an experience. Here, I love how you mentioned the heart in this film because I love that too. Like the central relationship, the core relationship in this film is so much fun. Like it kind of grounds this movie a lot more than some other sci-fi movies that have similar ideas. And I thought that was like a nice through line for this. So I'm glad that that spoke to you. It definitely spoke to me. I love kind of like the balance of emotion and action in this film. So yeah, no, it definitely kind of keeps the story moving, but also keeps you very invested in the characters. So yeah.
That's what we're going
So,
for.
Peter and Cara, you both had, like you said, action scenes, emotional scenes. How much prep did you have for this? Did you, have to do any like stunt work before? Did you do your own stunt work? Because it's an indie film and you can never afford to have all those perks that big films have. Like, what was that process like, and how much time did you have to prepare?
No, we actually had an amazing stunt team. We had a truly kick-ass stunt team, hey?
yeah,
The
really incredible.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, there were you guys for this independent production. I feel like the producing team really pulled out all the stops. It was quite impressive, actually. I had a full stunt rehearsal. Actually, I was just watching earlier this morning a video of the stunt rehearsal because it turned out really, really well. Anyway, yeah, prep though. I don't know. We shot it in Winnipeg, um, which is it was extremely, extremely cold. And I had just finished shooting the 3rd season of Sweet Tooth, so I had 2 days in between being in New Zealand and being in Winnipeg,
Oh,
which
that's a change. Okay.
was a wild trip. It was probably the craziest thing I've ever done, actually, because my whole family came with me. I had 2 small kids and my husband, and we all just were like, well, let's fucking do it, I guess. So there we were all of a sudden in Winnipeg. But I feel like
Uh,
also like Adam is the type of person and Tony, your producing partner on this project, they just brought together, you brought together a lot of really wonderful, warm, kind people. So the vibes were just really great on set all the time. It was very little effort to just feel everything. I think everyone felt really welcome, really invested. Everyone was a part of, felt ownership over their particular area that they were working on. Yeah, it was like one of those magical, everything came together kind of experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Cara, but I was really grateful for any of the fight scenes because they were a really effective way to keep warm
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Stretch that budget. I love it.
Yeah.
As long as you stay moving. I'm from Winnipeg originally, and Adam, I believe someone told you it's not that cold in March, and I don't.
Yeah, everyone lied to me, but that's okay. It worked out fine. I mean, I was so, you both have these sort of bigger fight scenes for an indie film, and especially Cara, in this alley, wind chill. I think it was at some points minus 30 Celsius or
Oh
minus
God.
20 or some crazy. And, it was an adventure for sure. And everybody's like, oh, by the time you guys get here, it won't be cold anymore. There won't be snow on the ground. I remember on that day towards the end of the film, our crew taking blowtorches to clear the snow near the alley. So that was just
Yeah.
all a lie, but it was fine. And Winnipeg was great. It really was. It was
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. So you're saying that people in Hollywood lied to you? Like what? Like that doesn't happen?
And I'm sorry to just jump in, but I do want to just add to what Carrot was saying about we really scored with our stunt team and our stunt coordinator BJ Vro, who actually is the guy fighting Peter in his sort of big fight scene, was just a godsend. I mean, him and his crew, they just brought everything to this, and it's some of my favorite stuff in the film, without a doubt. I mean, they really elevated everything, and I think we just got very lucky. Hadn't worked with them before. They were the crew in Winnipeg that were the recommended people for us, and we scored with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the special effects in this movie. I saw your background in special effects, and I was like, that makes perfect sense because this has just like the right mix of indie special effects. Like it doesn't try to do too much. I like your like near future feel because I think that makes it a little bit more timeless. Like films like Gattaca, movies like that, where like you can fast forward like 20 years and it still looks advanced. And I think that this film has a similar feel where like you did just enough to make it feel futuristic, but not too much that the special effects got in the way or that it started to look unrealistic. So, I guess just hats off to you for your kind of like vision here because it definitely felt like an indie film that was punching above its weight.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for saying that. I mean, that was always it was always a concern. We didn't have a big, cookie jar to play with here. And the idea behind the visual effects, it was to build the world, not to sort of be as much of a character on its own. It was really just to try to help create the feel and the vibe of everything and not to be hopefully too distracting. So little moments, little touches that sort of say, yeah, we're 10 minutes into the future, but after that, we wanted to keep it sort of as grounded as possible.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
can't believe how fast you did it also.
Yeah, it was crazy too because also, with the strikes, hate to go down that road, but just because of that, we lost almost a half a year of our post-production schedule. So it became a bit of a marathon at the end, but we got there. Yeah.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to a lightning round of just lightweight questions about the film. I want to hear your personal experiences mapped to things in the movie. Feel free to skip any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable. First, easy question. This movie starts with some coffee orders. What is your go-to coffee order?
Who goes
I
first?
like Americano with more cream than a person should have in it.
Beautiful.
All right. Oats latte.
Fancy.
Yeah, cappuccino or Americano for me.
All right. All good orders. This film also could, kind of deals with like online worlds. Have you ever played any sort of like massive multiplayer game or like living world game or like hung around in the metaverse? Have you ever done any of that stuff before this?
Toon Blast.
Nice.
Nice. The Last of Us online multiplayer from the first Last of Us game is too many hours of my life existing in that world.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
Oh,
Good
there's
choice.
an Expanse video game. I should have said that. The Expanse
The
video
Expanse video
Yeah,
game.
redo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for me, not as much. I love video games. I'm mostly a single player kind of guy, but Destiny and Halo and all those games, I've spent some time in the multiplayer versions of those. But yeah, not tons.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Destiny. Thankfully,
Yeah.
not anymore. Now my time is spent other places, probably wasted in different ways, but
Yeah,
I spent a lot of
same.
time in Destiny. This movie also kind of deals with an interesting like mix between like analog and digital. Do you consider yourself to be more of like an analog person or a digital person? Adam, seeing all the instruments behind you, I'm thinking maybe you're more analog, but I don't know. We'll see.
We've talked about this a lot, actually, or maybe I've just talked about it a lot. I would say that I try to straddle that line between I'm a hybrid guy. I am a pen and paper guy, and I love real cameras and film, although I recognize and use all the digital tools as well and don't really judge one over the other, but I do find that I function better in an analog world for many, many, many things.
Analog.
That's the bookstore,
You
I
know
should
what?
say.
Yeah, the bookstore was an interesting touch in a sci-fi movie. I like that.
Yeah.
Peter, what about you?
I'm similar. I like an actual paper copy of a book, and I like to be out in the wilderness camping, but I bring a digital camera with me, so it's a bit of both.
Straddle that line. Straddle that line. And the last question. This movie involves like an online interaction. Have you ever met a romantic interest online?
Not me.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I met my husband before that was a thing. I feel like
Yeah,
I missed the boat.
I met my wife in real life, but I chickened out in the moment, so I did message her directly on Twitter after that. So I guess maybe that's another hybrid answer.
Again, yeah, you're straddling that line. You're straddling that line. And
Cool.
yeah, Cara, I wouldn't. From what I hear about online dating, I wouldn't worry about missing that. I don't really know if it's missing, given what I hear about online dating. So I think you lucked out is probably the better word. Better
No, but
timing.
remember how excited everyone was about it when it was first a thing? Like people were like, "Yo, there's just all these
Swiping,
people." Yeah, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's yeah."
Yeah, and people were excited about social media and the internet, and we all saw how that went. So sometimes it can go in waves. So
Telephones, television. People were excited about those. All those,
Yeah.
yeah. All of it.
well, you can see this exciting online world, this wonderful indie sci-fi film, Levels, coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on November 1st, 2024. This is Adam Stern, Cara G, and Peter Mooney. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I really loved it. And I also I forgot to ask, I love that you had David Hewlett in this. I love David Hewlett. He's fantastic. So I
Yeah,
love
we haven't
seeing him.
spoken about David yet, so yes, we're all big fans. So I should only speak for myself, but I'm assuming.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I saw him in the movie years ago and just have loved it ever since. And that was perfect for this movie. So perfect.
Yeah, love him. Yeah, absolutely.
That was Adam Stern, Cara Gee, and Peter Mooney talking about Levels, which is coming to theaters, digital, and on demand on November 1st, 2024. It is a really well done, fun, indie sci-fi film that has an interesting concept, a nice balance of like emotion and action, and a very smart use of special effects. I actually really love this movie. I thought it was really good. I thought it was very entertaining. I enjoyed it a lot. So I definitely think you should check it out. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.